Long-haul budget flying is just notoriously difficult. I mean, think about it. Airlines operating in this space have to constantly balance the absolute astronomical costs of acquiring and maintaining massive aircraft, unpredictable spikes in global fuel prices, and the relentless pressure to keep passenger fares astonishingly low. It's a razor-thin margin for error. So the big question we really have to ask is, how do long-haul budget carriers actually survive the immense financial headwinds and the crazy capital burn happening right behind the scenes?
Well, the answer usually comes down to some incredibly high-stakes, meticulously timed maneuvers. Maneuvers that look a little something like this. $105 million. Yeah, that is the massive scale of a recent financial restructuring that immediately caught the attention of pretty much every industry analyst out there.
Welcome back to Air Flight Space, where we explore aviation stories, air safety investigations, industry developments, and the real lessons shaping modern flight. Today, we're opening up the ledger to investigate the critical June 2026 capital restructuring of Norse Atlantic.
Part 1. Securing the airline's future. Now, to really grasp the mechanics of this operation, we first need a little bit of context. Norse Atlantic is a Scandinavian budget carrier that operates a fleet of wide-body jets on long transcontinental routes. But here's why this matters. Their ongoing financial stability isn't just about one single company. It's actually a vital indicator of the overall health of the entire long-haul, low-cost aviation model. If they start facing heavy turbulence, the whole industry takes notes.
If you were standing in the terminal leading up to June 19, 2026, looking at Norse's flight boards, honestly, everything seemed completely normal. Jets were taking off on time, passengers were boarding, no big deal, right? But behind closed doors, a massive capital raise was underway just to keep those very planes in the sky. June 19th was the critical do-or-die expiration date for a major investor subscription period.
Section 2. The massive capital raise. Okay, let's dive into this. To truly understand how an airline secures its future when cash reserves are running dangerously low, we have to look closely at the exact mechanics of what Norse actually attempted to pull off here. The financial target was incredibly precise. The airline offered just under 2.04 billion new shares to the market. And the price? Exactly half a Norwegian krone, or 0.50 NKR per new share. By releasing this massive volume of shares into the wild, their goal was to raise gross proceeds of nearly 1.02 billion Norwegian krone, which, when you do the conversion, translates directly back to that massive $105 million figure we talked about earlier.
So, how did the market actually respond to this offering? Well, Norse officially disclosed that 78.8% of the subscription rights were validly exercised right by the deadline. That basically means 1.6 billion shares were allocated directly based on those valid subscriptions. But what about that remaining 21.2%? Well, that's exactly where structural safety nets come into play. Those remaining 432 million shares didn't just vanish, they were assigned to pre-committing investors who had underwritten the issue. Essentially, the underwriters acted as the ultimate safety net, stepping in to guarantee that the full capital target was met, regardless of what the immediate public market did. Moving on to retiring the bridge loan. Now, investigators and financial analysts naturally noticed something a bit unusual and started asking, where exactly is this massive influx of cash actually going? Because raising $100 million is literally only step one. How an airline deploys that capital is what determines whether they survive the fiscal year. So, the funds were earmarked for a highly specific three-step strategy. Number 1, immediately repay an existing bridge loan facility. Number 2, general corporate purposes. And number 3, directly fund daily operations and vital working capital. Keep this detail in mind because a bridge loan is typically short-term debt that's used simply to keep the lights on during a cash crunch. By prioritizing the repayment of that bridge loan, Norse removed a massive operational weight right off its balance sheet. It ensured their immediate survival and satisfied creditors, while the remaining funds provided the actual working capital they needed to keep their aircraft flying. Next up, restructuring the share capital. You see, issuing new shares to the public was really only half the battle here. Norse had to execute another highly sensitive corporate move at the exact same time, dealing with the existing debt they already owed. Just 2 days prior to that massive share issuance deadline, there was another crucial date on the calendar, June 17th. Norse gave their convertible bondholders a very tight window to act. Now, convertible bonds are essentially corporate debt that the holder can choose to flip into equity, meaning actual shares in the company. So, Norse offered these debt holders a choice. Exchange your bonds for brand new shares.
And the response from those bondholders? Absolutely staggering. Norse received valid acceptances representing about 96% of the outstanding bonds. That single maneuver magically resulted in the equivalent of nearly 546 million new shares being created just from the conversion of debt. This is absolutely crucial to understand because that massive 96% exchange rate shows an incredibly high level of investor compliance. It means those debt holders actively chose to bet on the airline's long-term equity rather than just clinging onto the debt.
So when you combine the new share issuance with that massive bond conversion, you get the new reality for Norse Atlantic. Once all these issuances are completely settled, the company expects its share capital will comprise up to an astonishing 2.958 billion total shares, each sitting at that nominal value of 0.50 Norwegian krone. It really just reveals the sheer, mind-boggling volume of equity it requires to stabilize a commercial airline's balance sheet.
Section 5. Global Aviation Industry Developments. Because, of course, Norse Atlantic's massive financial restructuring did not happen in an isolated vacuum. The aviation sector is this deeply interconnected web, and capital is constantly moving around on a global scale to meet new strategic, military, and commercial demands. Let's see how this was playing out across the wider industry during this exact same time period.
While Norse was busy raising their $105 million, legacy carrier Air France-KLM signed a massive €1 billion credit facility specifically to fund major mergers and acquisitions activity. They're keeping a very close eye on TAP Air Portugal and actively increasing their stake in SAS. Meanwhile, over in the rotorcraft sector, Airbus is heavily focused on ramping up production, totally confident they can deliver 120 of their H145 light twin helicopters this year alone. In defense, Brazilian manufacturer Embraer is offering India a dedicated assembly line as part of a bid for their C-390 military transport aircraft. And looking toward the uncrewed future, French tech firm Thales is aggressively targeting the market with its armed S-301 Loyal Wingman drone, while De Haer is actively detailing specs for a future medium-altitude, long-endurance, or MALE drone.
Furthermore, the physical airspace itself is rapidly adapting to commercial demands and harsh geopolitical realities. On the commercial side, Qantas is actively developing a highly complex trans-Pacific Arctic polar route for their ultra-long-haul Sydney to London flights. But simultaneously, we're seeing airspace utilities shaped heavily by modern conflict. Recently, heavy drone strikes from Ukraine successfully navigated airspace to hit Moscow, igniting an oil refinery. These simultaneous developments are a stark reminder of how route optimization, aerospace tech, and active conflict literally all operate within the exact same global airspace framework.
You know, when you see corporate statements confirming the urgent repayment of bridge loans, it really highlights just how razor-thin these operational margins are. We've covered a massive amount of ground today, from the intricate mechanics of a budget airline's financial survival, all the way to the geopolitical realities of modern aerospace. So, what can we ultimately learn from this story?
Well, the crucial point is this: survival in the modern aviation industry requires incredibly strict capital management, rock-solid investor confidence, and meticulously planned structural safety nets, like utilizing underwriters to guarantee an offering. Behind every single budget ticket you purchase is a complex, high-stakes financial engine that has to be constantly fueled, monitored, and restructured. Because a massive passenger jet doesn't just run on thousands of gallons of Jet A fuel, it runs on the precise execution of bridge loans, targeted share offerings, and high-level debt conversions.
Thanks for watching Airflight Space. If you found this explainer informative and want to understand the deeper mechanics of the aviation industry, please leave a like and subscribe for more aviation investigations and air safety documentaries. Share your thoughts down below on how these airlines manage such immense capital. With financial tightropes this thin, we really have to ask, which budget carrier will be the next to face a multi-million-dollar test of survival? I'll see you in the next explainer.